I had a psychic reading with Isabel Gatherer, who's still promising me a boyfriend I don't want, and Joe Dodd.
Welcome to Own It, Your Business in Your Life, with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show. Morning.
Hola.
Hola. Here she is. Welcome back. Hurrah.
Hello. How are you?
Oh, I've missed you, but it's been great fun.
Oh, good. Yes, no, you've had some really interesting calls, actually, haven't you?
Yes, it's been an exercise in just waiting, to see where the conversation unfolds.
Yes, an exercise in trust, Nicola.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm a control freak normally. It was a stretch.
I mean, speaking as a woman who listened to all of them and wrote up the show notes, of course, I thought you rolled with it all rather well.
Oh well, good. I like to do that, and you fixed up such great guests. It was easy.
Yeah, well, that's good, isn't it? I think, I think next year will be even better because I think we're beginning to get the way this works now.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's nice to know that you can have time off without, and indeed that I could do the same, have some time off.
Absolutely right. Although actually I don't know how I'd handle the tech if you weren't here, but I was saying that it's a false economy because I have to listen to the show and type up the show notes, and I don't think I save any time at all, really. But I sent you a link, didn't I, to this time next year, I will get somebody else to do the show notes for me, if not sooner.
Yeah, that'd be good, won't it? Because that is quite an arduous task, isn't it?
It's a task. I wouldn't say it was arduous, but it negates the point of being away for 5 weeks because I still have to do the worst bit, actually. The best bit is phoning up and chatting to you.
Yeah. Ditto. So tell me about what you've been up to then for the last 5 weeks.
Oh, Nicola, I've had to write 2 blog posts on this, so I couldn't possibly tell you all of this in the podcast because I've had such a lovely, high-achieving, variety, just amazing time, honestly. Last night I was awake in the middle of the night for the second night running, thinking I can't possibly tell Nicola all about that tomorrow because it'll take much longer than an hour. But I have written a blog post, which if you haven't read it, and I wrote halfway through the month, I wrote a Facebook post because I thought if I don't write this all down, I won't remember what to tell Nicola. But as a little overview, a lot of parties, a lot of sunshine. I got one of my clients called Tara, who was mentioned by Lisa Warner, to do some gorgeous memes for me in connection with the book. I encouraged everybody to join in on a project called Not the Book a Shortlist, where we're reading 6 books in 6 weeks. I had a psychic reading with Isabel Gatherer, who's still promising me a boyfriend I don't want, and Joe Dodds came over to spend the day with me last Friday.
Oh, lovely.
I know, that was exciting. So, I mean, the treats, my client this morning in New Zealand said that's not what I call a holiday, Judith, but the treats have come thick and fast, as well as all of the stuff I've done and all of the stuff I've learned. And as you'll hear later on in both Fueled Your Fire and Project Updates, much to tell about Facebook learning particularly, and also about project updates. About the book.
Oh, marvellous. Okay. Because I've had the kids here for a week, so I haven't been quite so active. So, you can gobble up some of our bandwidth, our space, if you like.
Our space, yes. Well, I would have to go off and look for my list now, because I deliberately cut it short for this. But just variety,
patches of sunshine. You said.
I tell you what I noticed, and lots of sunshine. My clients have said that doesn't look like a holiday to me. But I tell you what the actual pivotal issue was, and to a certain extent, it chimes with our challenge of the week. The pivotal difference is, instead of feeling bound to be there, I felt like I had a choice, whether there was no expectation on me in the last 10 days. And that is liberating.
Yes, I know what you mean. It's the old empty diary syndrome, isn't it? I've always wanted to have a largely empty diary so I can choose what I do rather than having to turn up for things.
Well, it wasn't really that the diary was empty so much as that when I'm working with my clients, I'm all over them like a rash. I'm following their social media output. I'm liking, I'm sharing, I'm creating my own social media output. I'm newslettering, podcasting, blogging, one-to-oneing, grouping. I'm doing all of that. And I choose that and I surrender to that and I look forward to that. But in the last 10 days of August, when there wasn't any of that, I still did a little bit of it, but there was no expectation upon me that I would. And that felt like a huge sort of harness off the cart horse for 10 days, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. So, there's something to think. There's quite a lot to ponder on there, isn't there?
Tell me about your week with the children.
Well, I turned up to pick up the hire car and they drove it out of the hire car place for me. And then I promptly got in the car and forgot what they'd said and tried to drive off in reverse because I hadn't driven for a year. And then the next morning I had to get in the car and drive to Kalamata, which involves 45 minutes of very, very windy roads on precipitous drops. But and then the new bypass. But I'd studied the new bypass on Google Earth, so I had a vague idea of what to expect, and it was actually very effortless. So I picked them up without incident, and in fact there was a load of old mateys at the airport picking up various people themselves. So we had a bit of a laugh about that. And they've come and we've spent our whole time swimming, eating, hanging about, watching Game of Thrones, etc., and having a lovely time. We had a couple of minor incidents, which were largely because of my inability to communicate in a way that Phoebe found acceptable. So that's something I need to work on, I think. But it's been a largely lovely time, which has been nice.
And shall I draw you on that? Were you being bossy, or what were you doing?
No, I'll come into that on Word of the Week.
Okay.
So yeah. So what's fueled your fire then?
Okay, 100, which is lovely. I've not finished with my September term marketing yet. And funnily enough, we're going to talk in Client Challenge of the Week about Chris Barrow's June newsletter as promised. But when I got to the bottom of it just now, he's got the most direct sales message in a newsletter I've ever seen. When you get to the bottom, it says, I'm looking for 5 new clients to hire me in October 2017. Well, I'm going to do that on Friday. I'm going to say, I'm looking for 10 new clients in Small Business Big Magic. I'm going to be more direct, even more direct than I've ever been before. I'm going to model Barrow's July newsletter.
I think that's a good idea. I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with being direct, and because otherwise people tend to slip you into the entertainment box rather than the you're there to either entertain or educate or challenge, and I think it's very easy to slip into the entertainment box, and unless there's a good strong call to action.
I have done some very salesy ones in August because it's that time of year, but I've not, and I've said this is a message from our sponsor. Who's our sponsor? Oh yes, me. This is what, and that's where I got the 3 new Club 100 clients from. But I would like, and I can only handle a certain number in there because I have to work with them one-to-one. I choose to work with them one-to-one. In my other group, I can handle another 10, and I'm going to go for that because I'm on fire this week. What you can tell me, if anything, about Sarah in this regard, because Sarah and I went together on a 5-day challenge. And 5-day challenges are all the marketing rage at the moment, aren't they, with the upsell at the end of the week?
Yeah.
On a thing with Cassie Hicks about learning how to use your Facebook page for marketing. And Sarah was typically Sarah, Nicola's sister, this is listeners. She came in and she said, I'm fed up with all of social media. She was, Mrs. Grumpy at the beginning of the week. And I don't think she was any less grumpier at the end of the week. Have you heard from her whether that lit her fire at all?
Not a sausage, no. But she's turning up on Thursday when I drop the kids off. I'm picking Sarah up. So she'll be in the car, trapped with me for 45 minutes.
Well, I am obsessed with Facebook pages at the moment, and I'm learning lots of new things, and I'm loving my Facebook page. And as I always say, what you love loves you back. So sooner or later I'm going to stop using my profile by about 90% and do everything I do on Facebook on my page instead, and be really serious and grown up and businessy about it, but not only in intent, not in content. My content will be as funky and alternative and Judithy as it's always been, but it'll just be on my page instead of on my profile.
Yeah, I mean, I do use my page, and I have weeded out my profile back to people I actually know and want to interact with personally, and try to use my page. The main issue is reach. You know, if you put something on your profile, it's supposed to reach 95% of the people who you're friends with. If you put something on your page, it reaches 15 to 20% unless you boost it. So it's all very well,
yes,
you know,
no.
yeah.
Yes,
go on.
Yes and no. Yes and no. As a result of this 5-day challenge I was on with Cassie Hicks, I've been on my insights more than I've ever been before, and I've discovered things like what my likers like best, and been surprised by that. And I've got memes, and I've found my audio again from Audio Boom. I've got audio, I've got memes, I've got long form posts which they like. I've got and I can see which they like. And bizarrely, the thing they like best is my long form, effectively blogging on my Facebook page.
Yeah.
And that gets a lot of reach and a lot of engagement. And what I notice is, now that Cassie got me into more content on there and more checking what they're liking, I mean, she only follows, we're friends, but and she's not alone. I can see this. Several of my clients engage with me on my page because they don't really like Facebook very much. And so not being on the profiles, but keeping to the pages of the people they like, streamlines it for them. And they engage with me there, and that's great for me.
Well, okay, so are you going to need to share some of these things you've learned, or would you just recommend we go and... Yeah.
No, eventually I will. I'm so at the beginning of this that once I'm no longer a student but quite proficient, I will share them here every week because they're really exciting.
Yeah. And do you know how often Cassie does her? Because I rate Cassie a lot. I think she's really good. So do you know how often she does these challenges?
I don't, but obviously the point of these 5-day challenges, as you will understand, is all about the upsell at the end of the week, which I'm so sorry if Cassie is listening, or her best friend is, which was never my intention to buy whatever was on sale at the end of the week. It was just to get me into looking at my Facebook page for 5 days. And because I'm such a good girl, Nicola, I was, you know, a keen bean, and I went to 4 out of the 5 things live, and I did what she said, and it just got me started. I don't know how often she does that 5-day challenge, or indeed if she ever will again, but the things that she does on her page are pretty good of themselves, even without you being enrolled in anything.
So go and watch what Cassie's doing. I mean, Gary Vaynerchuk always says that as well. Watch what I'm doing and do what I'm doing, because if I'm doing it, it means I think it's the best thing to do.
Yeah, I don't think that she does anything that you or I don't do or don't understand. I think the value of it was just on my holiday, quote unquote, just deciding to look at my page for a week. And that led my own logic to say to me, do you know what, Judith? And you know what I said to you about 2 months ago? If I was starting again, I'd do it all on Facebook and MailChimp. That's where I'm going to end up, Nicola, quite soon. And you're going to be shocked and appalled, but that's actually what I'm going to do.
Well, since you said that, I've been thinking about it a lot, and especially once I realised that I'm, one of the people I've been following, Steve Bartlett from Social Chain, I hadn't even been to look at his website at all.
Oh, so I heard you saying that, and I'm going to redirect my website to my Facebook page eventually when I'm ready. And so my Facebook page will be my total online hub. And so instead of dragging people off social media to my tiny website, I am going to them where they are, and they're on Facebook. And I know that because my clients become clients directly from Facebook without ever going anywhere near my website or my blog or my newsletter or anything. I'm going to where they are. I'm not going to stop trying to drag them to my tiny, 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 inconsequential, out-of-date website.
Yeah, there's two things there. I mean, this week, someone in the know announced that Facebook is going to be penalising people who use landing pages and ads. It's been threatened for a couple of years now, and rumours go around all the time that it's happening. But someone in the know has actually leaked that they are really now going to start to penalise anyone who takes people off Facebook. Their whole goal is to keep people on Facebook.
Of course.
Entirely. And to some degree, YouTube's like that. So when you're doing your YouTube description for any video, you should always make sure there are more internal YouTube links to other videos, for example, or people that have inspired you or whatever, or to your own channel or to your own other videos than external links. Sorry?
Do you want me to tell you something about YouTube that's going to make you fall off your chair?
Go on then.
Last night I went onto YouTube and worked out how to do a Google Hangout.
Sorry. The headphone just dropped off with shock then.
Quite, because now I've realised I don't have to be on video. I can do it on audio only. So I am going to be doing Google Hangouts in my groups and on my pages.
Oh my God. Well, I can't wait to see
Nicola,
this.
Nicola, look the hell out. I'm coming.
You're coming. She's coming on audio.
I'm coming. Now tell me, what has fueled your fire?
Well, not much, to be honest. I've been attempting to get psyched up for, when I drop the kids off and have to start work again. But I did sit on the sunbeds yesterday and work out a 12-week tick list. Now, this will shock you, because this is so not me at all. But I realised that I'm doing a 12-week challenge for Be Everywhere Online with a new client. I'm basically, pulling back the curtains, showing what we're doing from taking her from zero. She had 154 likes on her page, and that was pretty much it. 20 subscribers, no YouTube subscribers, nothing. I mean, she had nothing at all. But she does have a lot of credibility, a fantastic video presence, and a really gung-ho attitude and willing to work. So I thought, and she's actually a friend of a friend out here, and I thought she'd be a perfect example to do a case study with. So I've started that, and it's a little bit, obviously it has to be a bit slow because we can only do, it has to be 12 weeks because that's how long it's going to take us to put her whole business into place. But I thought that would be interesting. So that's getting me going because she's already getting results in week 1, which is nice. She's had a university contact her, and 2 old prospects who she thought was dead and gone forever have got back in touch. So that's nice. But the other thing is I'm starting to, and so I sat on the sunbed and I thought, I need to do some sort of fast start masterclass, because when people come into my newly renamed Clicks and Leads Academy, the first thing they want is what do I do first? And I've got a fast start masterclass in there, which largely is about not having to use a website, just using a URL and a lead pages page and that stuff. So it's not out of date, but it does look a little bit dated to me, I think. So what I thought I'd do was do a new fast start masterclass, sell it as a course that people can actually come on live, and then turn it into an ongoing thing where I direct people to when they come into the membership site. But I thought one thing that I really feel that people need is what to do week by week, because that whole tick list thing, week 1, do this, do this, do this. I mean, I don't need it because it's all in my head. But I know that some of my students seem to need it. So I thought I really need to get this down on and I have to be a spreadsheet thing, I think. So I sat on the sunbed yesterday and started, I wrote one page, week 1, week 2, up to week 12. And I thought, I might be able to get it down to 9 weeks. But anyway, I'm working on a tick list, which you wouldn't think would be fueling my fire at all, but it actually is.
And will you give that to anybody? Is it an opt-in thing, or is it something that goes with this replacement masterclass? Or
I think it'll definitely, because everyone who joins the academy gets everything. So that anyone who's in there will get it anyway. I think it'll be a giveaway on the webinar that sells the. Because I need a webinar that sells the academy now, and I thought that a good webinar would be one that covered what you do in the first 9 weeks, or what you do in the first 12 weeks. I mean, 12 weeks to me sounds a little bit long. 6 weeks would be better, but I'm not sure that you can do everything I want.
I don't think 12 weeks is too long. I was talking to Susan, the podcast lady who spoke to you in August yesterday, and she does this 90-day planning. Barrow does 90-day planning.
It does feel right,
isn't it?
Yeah, it does. So perhaps I'll say 90 days. Does that sound less than 12 weeks?
What is 12 times 7? It's not 90 days is 13 weeks. So it's whatever.
we got sucked up into a bit of maths. We love a bit of maths, don't we? Anyway, so I'm doing the webinar on the 16th of September, and it won't be recorded. Well, I'll record it for personal reasons, just to listen back to it, but it won't be one, because I'm sick of people signing up for webinars and not turning up. It's annoying. So I'm going to be doing it live on the 16th of September, and then I'm going to be starting the 12-week program on the 23rd of September, and that'll be accessible, not as a standalone program product thing. It will just be to encourage people to join the academy, and then they'll get everything.
Okay, just talking about webinars for a moment, which, as you know, I loathe.
Yeah,
I've been on rather a lot of them in July, learning all of this new stuff, and my new Facebook training thing that I'm beside myself about does training at 3:30 in the afternoon once a week on Tuesdays in San Diego. Well, that's 11:30 at night for me. Ooh. And I definitely need to have the recording of that, because there's about 3% of Judith Morgan left by 11:30 at night. And interestingly, they bribe you to go to it with a prize of a year's membership every year, but you get that whether or not you're there live. So that's quite abundant of them, I think. Well,
yeah, I mean, I think so this is a training webinar you're talking about, is it?
Well, all of the webinars I've been on, Cassie had 5, and then that led me on to a 6th and a 7th, and then this new thing I'm doing, they're 90 minutes long, and by the time you've implemented what you've learned, I mean, I did it on Saturday. And
I definitely think training webinars should always have a recording. What I'm talking about is sales webinars, because people sign up for, and I do it myself. I sign up for sales webinars, and I think, if there's a recording, I'll get the recording and watch that. Yeah, you very rarely do. I mean, you're lucky if another 10% turn up to the recorded. Having said that, you do sell from the recordings as well. So I'm in two minds about what to do about it. But anyway,
I think you should be in two minds, because I think it's interesting. I always teach people, sell as you buy. You and I both like the recordings. Yeah. So, it's authentic really to offer a recording if you're a person that likes, I suppose it is, by recording.
Yeah, but the thing is, I think, is then to have some sort of incentive for people to turn up live above and beyond the giveaway that gets. So I need to think about that. Anyway, 16th of September, everyone, put it in your diary. It should be in time for you to join. All you need to do is be on my mailing list or have liked my page, and you'll find out the details about it.
But now, good. Hang on, let me just manage that for people, for listeners. This show goes out live on the 15th. So it's tomorrow, team.
Okay, listeners, good.
They need to be, pulling their fingers out and finding their way to your website. And I'll put a link in. We managed to sort out the links, you and I, didn't we, in the end?
Yes, we did. So I need to give you a link for that webinar, don't I?
Yes, please. Yes.
Yeah, that free webinar. All right. And it will be a sales webinar, but it will only have a tiny sale at the end, and it will have lots and lots and lots of great content, because that's how I do. That's how I roll.
The gist of the content is all about be everywhere online in 12 weeks.
Yeah, well, it is, but it's extra on top of that. It's okay. Not just how to be everywhere online, but whether you really need a website nowadays to do it, and do you really need a mailing list, and if not, then what you're going to use instead, that kind of thing. So it's a little bit techie and a little bit social, nice. Techie social as well.
Okay,
good stuff. All right, so we're both fueled up, and client challenge of the week, we're up to 11:40. Here at Own It, we personally believe that leaders are readers, but sometimes it's just not convenient to read and you'd rather listen instead. For listeners of Own It the podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. A couple of titles we've picked out for you particularly are Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg or Crush It, Why Now is the Time to Cash In on Your Passion by Gary Vaynerchuk. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/ownit. Again, that's audibletrial.com/ownit for your free audiobook. You can pick one of the ones I've chosen for you, or you can choose something else. Enjoy your listen.
All right. Now, I don't know if you've had time again to read the source material for this, but we're Chris Barrow's July newsletter, which I will link to in the show notes. Everybody doesn't seem to find their way to the show notes. If you go to our website, ownitthepodcast.com, every single week I take time to write up the details and link to everything we've discussed. And actually, they're also visible on iTunes. below the podcast. So his July newsletter was something that you recommended 6 weeks ago in July, presumably, about the renewal cycle, how entrepreneurs are doomed to repeat their behavior for a lifetime. And I agree with more of it today than I did then, but you agree with all of it because you and he are very similar types. And he describes in there the renewal cycle, which is phase one, go for it. And this is about people who achieve things in their lives by having a quest and liking having a quest. And he gives examples. He's a quester, you're a quester, not sure I am, which is why there's room for debate here. So his example, he says that questers have multiple quests going on at any one time. He's entered a marathon. He's set an ambitious sales target. He's applied for a postgraduate course. He's learning to ride a motorbike, which we know he's given up already because it was too hard. He's going to buy his own practice. He's converting his house.
He's going to buy his own practice?
Well, no, this is a list of things here. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I want to see my kids through school. I want to reduce my percentage of the total gross sales so that I can take some time off. So he's listing goals that goal-oriented people or questers might typically have multiples on the go at any one time. And the first phase is bring it on is the mantra. This is when we've decided we're going for the quest and we're like a Marvel superhero and we leap out of bed every morning and we soak up the pressure and the pain. In fact, we feed on it because we love it. And, we're happy in that phase. We're winners, so we achieve our quest, and that's when the problem sets in, what he calls phase two. You've achieved all of that. You're a winner. And then there's this appalling come down where you feel useless and, riding your bike and you're playing golf isn't cutting it. Funnily enough, I discovered this when I went to work with Michael Gerber, that there were many people in his room that said, well, we've e-mythed our business and we never go into work anymore and we're bored at home. And he said, well, actually, you've missed the point, which is that you replicate your business. But he's saying your quester in phase two is a right royal pain in the neck because these people need to have a quest. It defines them. And then phase three is cocooning. I need some room. This is when you realize that you've got a problem with this post-quest come down and you need to work out what you're going to do next. You've got to look inside and discover what's wrong and, where you are on the renewal cycle. And he says this is the best time to be working with your coach. And also you have some solitude and you tell yourself some hard truths and you accept who you are and you ask who you want to be in the future. And then you get ready for your next chapter and you go round and round and round on this, different version of a hamster wheel all your life. And it's your mechanism for getting things done. And he says, and the goal is to die in any phase except phase two.
I like that a lot.
Which I thought was very funny, actually.
Yeah. So I would have thought that the questing thing would get less as you've got older, but he doesn't seem to be letting up at all. He seems to have accepted that it's him.
Or you actually.
I don't know. I disagree. I'm actually very much unless I'm in a doldrum phase at the moment. I'm very much I really don't want to do another, fast start masterclass. I really don't. I'd really rather not. But I realise I'm going to have to because I need some sort of recurring marketing cycle. And I definitely feel that having something that's structured and something I could wheel out 3 times a year, like a challenge, is the least exhausting way of doing it. I definitely don't want to be doing product launch formula style stuff. So if it's not going to be that,
I think you're still engaged with your main quest, which is to have success in business, which you might sell.
No, I've gone away from that completely now. I'm not interested in having something I can sell. I'm interested in just having a nice life.
Oh, good. Well, then that case, there's nothing to discuss here because you and I are both on the same page. But you did actually choose renewal as your word about 6 weeks ago. So you've changed your mind while I've been on my holidays, which is absolutely fine. But he in the end here, he says, I think this is quite fun. Please don't ask me for an escape plan. I know you won't, but just in case a non-quester tries to convince you that it's time to stop. Well, I'm a non-quester, and I try to convince people all the time that they should try and stop this exhausting cycle. But it doesn't mean that you can't still have fun in work and out of work, doing stuff that you love. And he says here, I don't have an escape plan. I'm just like you, travelling the cycle for the rest of my life. No, Barrow, we're not travelling the cycle for the rest of our lives.
I think there's wheels within wheels here, though. I think there's the fact that, I've now decided what my business looks like for the rest of my life until I change my mind again. But then within that, there's marketing cycles, and there's, challenges, people doing challenges, and, you having time off to renew. I think there's cycles within your business as well. So I think it's an interesting concept to think about. And in fact, even this morning, I was just looking for it when we started talking. Carlosophies, the girl, Carly, I can't remember her surname, but an email came from her just this morning talking about exactly the same thing. And she does a podcast called Carlosophies, which I really like. And she interviews people, and she gets really quite deep in with them about things that have gone wrong and how they've pulled themselves out of that, which is a topic I find endlessly fascinating. But she was saying, that she's in one of her doldrums bits, so she doesn't feel like she wants to do anything. She's looking after herself. She's reading books. She's just waiting for it to pass, knowing that it's just a phase.
I think that knowing that it's a phase is quite useful. What I don't like is the fact that it's quite a simple graphic which people can download from this post that I'll connect to. But it's another hamster wheel to me. I think I have a sense of phase one this morning, which is I'm on fire with the book and my Facebook marketing. So I am questing and I am leaping out of bed and I barely sleep and all of that. But I don't think I'll go round and round and round and round this forever. And that's not even an attractive possibility to me, actually.
There must be a graphic that would make you look more attractive, a less negative graphic.
No, I think it's not negative, actually. I think he thinks it's positive. And it is for the alpha personality type, very much. And what I think the graphic does is it simplifies it. And I think many people will recognize themselves in this. And a close personal friend, and yesterday a client, basically said to me, unless you're pushing forward with your life, not really, that's the wrong word, but unless you're about achievement or kaizen, continuous improvement, or unless you're in that forward pushing energy, your life is wasted and has no meaning. And I so don't agree with that. I said to my client yesterday, I contemplated in a spare hour at 10 o'clock in the morning, for the first time in my life, and I didn't achieve it, but I contemplated sitting for an hour and doing absolutely nothing to see what would happen. In the end, I went on Amazon and scoped out some colouring things to buy and something else, because it's so unfamiliar to us. You said, I did my tick list on a sunbed. We've been so busy for so long creating our own businesses and our own reality, 40 years in my case, and notching up there for you, that we don't really know how not to be in that continually pushing forward space.
I think I totally agree with you, and I am working very hard on finding things to do alternative, so I'm not working all the time. But I do somewhat agree with the thought that unless someone is doing something productive with their spare time, whether it's learning language or listening to music or reading, I've got nothing to say to people who don't do anything. It's, I just, because some people just, I don't know what they do with it all their time. It's just completely incomprehensible to me if you're not doing something productive.
If you meet a stranger, let's say, one of your conversational gambits would be really what we're asking is what makes you interesting. But yes. What you're saying is that if somebody had, say, a job, what might make them interesting is what they choose to do with their spare time. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. I just feel that unless you're, and there's a lot of people here who are retired who technically don't do anything. But you find that they're really busy people. They're always, they're doing things, they're raising money, they're reading books, they're they're doing creative, right? They're painting. But, I've been practicing going down the beach and doing nothing, but I can't actually do nothing unless I'm swimming in the sea, in which case I can just float in the sea, and it's a bit like a flotation tank. But if I'm on the sunbed in the sun, I have to be reading or doing something. I can't just lie there and do nothing. And I just think that if someone isn't trying to move forward intelligence-wise with something, what have they got to talk about?
I suppose it depends, really. Great thinkers, of course. Should we ever be fortunate enough to chat to somebody like that, they're thinking.
Yeah, but then they do something with what they think, don't they? I mean, it's like one of my favourites, Sam Harris, the atheist. He does a lot of thinking, and so do a lot of people in the atheist space. And then there's, other people who just think. Like Seth Godin, I suppose, is a thought leader, isn't he? But they do something with what they think. They make a blog post. They record some audio. They put it out there for other people to share. There's absolutely no point in being a great thinker if nobody knows what you're thinking and you're not sharing it.
I don't agree with that. I get the point. I get the point of both versions of thinkers. But I think what we're discussing here, really fascinating me, and we will discuss it forever, is the difference between doing and being. And we are, all of us, so ingrained in doing.
Well, okay, so if I meet someone who's a beer who just bees very happily, just is thinking and being, that's great for them, but I'm going to have nothing to talk to them about.
No, because sooner or later I'm going to be a beer. I'm not going to become any less interesting because I'm a beer. You're not only interested in my achievements, you're interested in what I've been thinking about. We'd still have a conversation.
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah, it's true.
I'd be reading it. I wouldn't necessarily be publishing it in a blog for people to consume.
Well, that's all very well for me because I know what a great thinker you are, and I know that you'll have something to talk about. But what if someone you wouldn't meet you because you wouldn't be? Sorry, the scrap metal man is coming round.
Couldn't give a toss, could I? Couldn't give a toss about people who I might never meet because they are only interested in doers. Oh God, let's wait for that. It's absolute pantomime today, isn't it? The pantomime show.
He's already been round once, the scrap metal man. I thought I was safe, but no, he's come back again. He's convinced we've got scrap metal. We're not giving him. It could be something else. It could be fruit deliveries. Anyway, I think he's going downhill now. Right. So, okay, coming back to, there's something I want to pick up on there. So you're saying that after Cassie's course, you've then gone on and invested in some more training on top of that.
Yeah, but I don't want to discuss that in Client Challenge of the Week.
Okay, fair enough. Renewal cycles, that's where we're talking. So there's big renewal cycles.
What we're talking about is personality types. And Barrow's on this renewal cycle forever and wants to be on this renewal cycle forever because he's an alpha personality. He's a leader. He wants to challenge himself continually. Since we've known him, has been through a half a dozen
business iterations.
Business iterations, and the new thing where he takes people to the desert in Oman to, find themselves. And this is not a criticism; it's an observation.
No, absolutely, yeah, we love him.
And I am fascinated. I mean, looking at his blog today, he's given me 2 gems already, which it's beautifully designed. His website, beautifully designed.
Yes, it is nice, isn't it? The new one.
What's the name of the woman that does that for him?
Kimberly
Karen
Black.
Or Kim. Yeah,
Kim,
lovely,
yeah.
Lovely. And also he's inspired me with this. I'm looking for 5 new clients to hire me in October. So, we will never, either of us, cease to be inspired by him in one way or another. And today, unlike 6 weeks ago, I'm more engaged with doing than I was then. I've been a doer by most people's yardsticks during my August holiday when I was supposed to be being, but I don't want to be on any kind of treadmill cycle, however productive, for the rest of my life.
I think I'm starting to think of it as more seasons because, rather than a hamster wheel or a treadmill, think of it like the seasons. So, because I'm much more in touch with nature here because I'm outdoors so much more and we have the doors open and stuff all the time and it's not just locked up with central heating on. the winter's the dormant time, isn't it? The cocooning time. And then the spring is when you venture forth and sow your seeds. So perhaps start new challenges and marketing initiatives. And then summer is when it all sort of ripens and comes to fruition. And then autumn's the time when you harvest. I sort of think that's a nicer analogy.
It's softer, it's more feminine, and it's more, mother earthy. Gaia, exactly. Yes, normally you wouldn't like that sort of thing, but
well, no, exactly.
But also, you wouldn't take a year over it. You wouldn't take a year over it either, would you? You'd cram all those 4 seasons into a time frame,
into a 12-week period
to keep you motivated.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I mean, I like the idea of having one business that I just do 3 times a year maximum, a 12-week challenge of some kind, which leads to a marketing focus. I mean, obviously, you let people in your membership site throughout the year, but I think you have to have, with a membership site particularly, you have to have a marketing focus. And I think 2 or 3 12-week challenges would suit me just fine. And if it involved working with someone lovely and, picking them because of their qualities of go-gettery and action-taking, I think that could be quite fun twice a year or 3 times a year and not exhausting.
I think the reason why we're sharing this today, and I'm going to link this. Yeah, I think the reason why we're sharing this today and link to it in the show notes, because a lot of our listeners are coachy types or involved in that kind of work. And I think it is a useful framework to understand and for us all to, in one way or another, either accidentally or purpose, create or find or drop into our own version of it.
Yeah. I mean, I was talking to a client before I came on the call with you this morning, one of my top end clients, and I was saying, he's going off on a big retreat in a week's time, and he's been prevaricating about getting a VA for the last 2 years, nearly as long as I've known him, and that's one of the things that holds him back. But he's such a thinker, a detailed thinker. He overthinks everything, and he hires me because I'm a big picture thinker. And I said, look, you cannot get on that boat next week to go to that retreat without having hired a VA, because that's the first thing the person that's running the retreat is going to say to you is, why haven't you built a team? So if you can get on that boat and say, yes, I've just hired a VA, that's one thing less. You can move forward and get the most out of the rest of the retreat on the things to do with that VA. But you've got to take that step. And, he's been in this sort of space where he's been building up to it, and the pressure's been mounting and mounting and mounting, and the VA's the thing that the bottleneck, as it were. And I just, you have to know where your clients are in their cycles, don't you? And know when it's time to push, and know when it's time to give them some space and time. Yes,
absolutely. And I think that might be the value of this model for many.
Yeah. Knowing where you are and knowing where your clients are.
And knowing how you roll yourself, and whether or not it would be useful to have a coach push you a bit or not.
Well, the funny thing is, Chris is now starting to work with my first ever coach.
Yes, I saw that.
On fire.
Brilliant. I mean, that's one of the things I do appreciate about him, is that he walks his talk. He's always working with a coach and pushing and stretching himself. That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's move on. Let's talk about word of the week then.
Yeah, you go first.
Well, mine is communication, because we've had a couple of issues this week where I've had things to say and I've just not known for the best how to say them. And I never feel I've been very good at this. I always just say things as I actually don't say things. That's the worst thing. Most of the time I build stuff up in my head until I explode. But I have tried, as you know, over the last few months to say what is on my mind as soon as it's on my mind. But I'm not sure if it came out wrong or if it just wasn't heard right. But, how do people do this? How do people work out what to say, when to say it, and how to say it? Is there a way, or can you just say it? Do you just have to say it?
I think there is a way, but I don't think you learn it overnight.
So are there any books that I could read?
Let me think about that, Nicola. Let me think about that. Or let me write a blog post about it, actually, because it's something a client asked me to help her with yesterday. And it is something I think I've mastered. And I think it's something I've learned through personal development over 20 years. And it isn't easy, but it's important. And life is so much easier once you've mastered it. Now, you're talking about your family easier once you recognise certain things that I know you know and appreciate, which is you're not responsible for how they feel.
Yes, but it does, when you're all in the same house, it does affect everyone else, doesn't it? If you upset someone by communicating badly.
Yeah, but that's family, isn't it? So, you know what I'm saying? In families, it's a thousandfold harder.
Oh, okay. Because I think, in a business situation, you can communicate directly and cleanly, hopefully, without getting all I've learnt to keep emotion out of it, although
let me give you an example, if I may. One of these Facebook strategies is about befriending everybody that engages with any of your content and then inviting them to like your page. And I attempted to befriend a woman this week who then came back and sent me a private message that says, "Thank you for your friend request. If you don't mind, I'm not going to accept it." And of course I don't mind, because this woman is a stranger to me. It doesn't matter to me whether or not she's my friend. But actually, I felt a bit sad about that, actually. Not sad, that's wrong. I felt like you feel at school when somebody doesn't want to be your friend.
Whereas I routinely delete friend requests because I don't want lots of people in my timeline that I don't know.
Yeah, I do, you see, because I do know them and I get to know them and they become clients. But never mind. The point is, when I was rejected, quote unquote, I didn't like how it made me feel. But all I did was observe my feelings, laugh at myself and move on. I didn't beg her to reconsider making me a friend. And of course, it's totally her right to do that. And I reject all the weirdos. I accept the majority of the women, especially if we have friends in common. I reject the majority of the men because they've only just banged up a page that makes them look like they work for the UN.
Yeah.
There was a particularly handsome man I had to turn away earlier in the week with some regret because he was one of those. It's a funny old thing, isn't it? The playground.
The playground, indeed. And, so communication, I'd love to know if there's any good books on clean communication.
Yeah, when she came to visit me, she mentioned a book which I've heard of, and I haven't looked it up, so it may not be the answer to your question, but if you go on Amazon and have a look, it might be. It's called I'm Okay, You're Okay.
Okay.
And that might be it. We've got quite a long delay now, you and I.
Yeah, I know. 1, 2, 1, 2.
We're nearly there, don't worry. Let's push on.
Yes, let's push on indeed. So what's your word of the week then?
It's book or books, because August has been all about me writing mine and reading other people. Watched almost nothing on television, loved being back in the land of the Kindle, and I'll tell you more about my own book in a minute.
Okay, fair enough. Project updates then. I looked at our stats and we have a strong upward trend over 3 months. So that's that's good. That's encouraging. We're still working on the YouTube hookup. I think that'll help enormously if we can just get it immediately feeding through to YouTube from Libsyn. Yeah, but it was a little bit tricky, and we had to decide whether to go start from now or whether to start from 1. So I've decided to get 2 a week going until we catch up.
Okay.
Because that'll be the best way of doing it. But we should see our download numbers going up, because if it's feeding through from Libsyn, it should be recording the plays.
Okay, cool. Good. So I have something to contribute in Project Updates this week about my book. Woohoo! I've written 54,000 words.
Wow.
I'm going for 60,000 words. And Monday, I spoke to a client of mine who lives so far north in Scotland, even the thought of it makes my ears bleed. But I know that she comes to London in the September turn every year to spend a 3-day weekend with her children, who have an inset day on the Monday, with her brother. And we've worked together for a year, and she knows me really well. And in conjunction with the book and Facebook and all this marketing and everything, I need a new photo shoot, and that's one of the things she does. So on Monday, I invited my client Alison, who is a listener to the podcast, to do my headshots in November.
Wow.
I know, that's exciting. Well, we had a really interesting conversation over the summer about this, because when you're 62, I totally get that a human being of 62 in the right photographer's lens is beautiful. And by that I mean not a supermodel.
No.
But if you can pick up the energetic quality of a person, hire a stranger to do that, but hired Alison to do that if we're Insect Weekend, it's because she knows me. So she'll know when she looks at the photographs whether she's caught what she knows about me
the
or
essence
not.
Of Judith.
And so I felt confident to ask somebody who knew me to, I mean, the last photo shoot I had was in 2003. That was 14 years ago, and I still look young and vibrant and sexy. And now I look like an old lady. And when I had this conversation with some people in their 20s, I said, I want somebody to capture my beauty. And the people in their 20s kind of sniggers as if to say, well, people in their 60s aren't beautiful. What's the matter with you? But they so are. You just can't see that if you're in your 20s.
Interesting interview with Rankin, the photographer. I've been following Steve Bartlett from Social Chain, and he interviewed Rankin, the photographer. If you just search Steve Bartlett Rankin interview.
I know Rankin. He's a sex bomb. I love him.
Well, he is gorgeous. And he says in this interview that one of the most helpful things he did after he became, quite a competent photographer and was doing all right, he did set up some sort of live installation at the National Gallery where he photographed something like 2,300 people over 3 months. And he said, after a very short period of time of doing that, I was able to feel people's energy, essence, aura, whatever you call it, as soon as they sat down in front of me. And a 5 minutes conversation, he said I could feel them. And that enabled me to take a picture that represented who they were. And I thought that was really interesting, and just what you were talking about.
Alison, I'm getting goosebumps. Yeah. I'm getting goosebumps. Alison, Lossy Mouth, if you listen to that, all I want you to do when you come to London in November is a Rankin on me, okay?
Do a Rankin.
She'll be laughing.
Right, I think that will be brilliant, because I always struggle to find decent pictures of you and to use in our marketing materials, so I'm thrilled.
Okay, and you haven't got decent material, because I've only got 2 photos, one that goes back to 2003 and a snap that was accidentally taken in 2007. And let me tell you that, I have also set up a companion, currently free Facebook group called Ask Judith, which is a companion to the book. And using my new Facebook tech, people will have to simply opt in using the also versions. So I am so on fire with this book project, which rather negates what I said in the previous section about being so laid back and not a quester at all. I'm a quester on this particular project.
No, I can't wait to read it, so I'm looking forward to that. Cool. Who or what's impressed?
You go first.
My client Kate has impressed me. She's been out here for a week visiting her mother-in-law with her husband. I got to meet him, the podcaster, and he actually works away in the week. And her 2 very lively children are 7 and 9, and she still churns out content to order. You know, every time I ask her, can you do me a quick intro video? Can you do me a quick thank you video? She answers emails immediately, pretty much, and she gets the video content done as I need it. It's really deeply impressive.
We like those people. She's not the woman that's the focus of your 12-week challenge, is she? Or is she?
Yes, she is. Yes.
Oh,
Kate.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yes. Cool. I don't know how she does it. I really don't. And it just knocks all those, it knocks all the excuses of all those other people who take weeks to do one thing out the window, really, doesn't it?
Well, she's efficient. That's the answer.
What about you then?
Time client, which is somebody who was a regular but is now ad hoc, called Vanessa, who runs a website called luxuria-jewelry.com, who, because even when she's not a client, I like and share and engage with her social media content. She said to me, she asked me a trick question about 6 weeks ago when I liked a little collection of cabochon gemstone rings that she'd got on social media. She said, what's your ring size? And I didn't answer her partly because I don't know my ring size. I had to go off and measure it. But I also knew why she was asking me, which is that she wanted to send me a free present. And I felt a little bit uncomfortable about that. And she knew that. And she came back and she said, I know why I haven't answered my question. It's because you don't want me to send you a free one. But actually it wasn't. It was because I didn't know my ring size and I had to go off and work it out. And cut a long story short, I did go off and work out my ring size and I sent it back to her, and she specially commissioned from New York, sized for me personally because I'm not a stock size, a beautiful 24 karat gold vermeil, colourful cabochon ring called the AB crystal that I was so obsessed with earlier in the year for my brother's birthday party.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just the most beautiful thing, the most beautiful thing ever. And now you're impressed by this. I'm going to in jewellery make myself because I want to make myself. She's going to help me source when she gets back from a holiday. And I'm going to make, because I can't find the necklace I want, I'm going to make it myself.
Oh, Heather does jewellery. She's got a tray and a light and a set of magnifying glasses, and she sits for hours doing it, having a lovely time.
Yeah, I'm not going to go that far. I've looked at the jewellery making starter kits on Amazon, and I've eschewed them, Nicola.
You've eschewed them, have you?
I have, yes. I think I can do this one without any equipment at all because it'll just be one that goes over my head. So all I need is a string of beads.
Oh, yeah, well, I wouldn't count your chickens, love. Good, that's done. In spite of all the interruptions and the internet up and downs, we've got through it, and hopefully everything will be a lot easier next week. But welcome back. It's been lovely to talk to you again.
Marvellous. You too.
Speak soon.
See you next. Bye.
Bye. You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.